สวัสดีครับทุกคนครับยินดีต้อนรับครับ My name is Sunil and welcome back to another coding edition of Spot Skills. Today we're going to focus on our services area and continue where we left off on our webpage. We built out so far เราสั่งแล้วเมนูไอเทมครับเมนูแล้วก็ showcase ด้วยครับเราแสดงว่าใช้ align items ใช้ float อย่างไรครับแล้วก็ใช้ variables ข้างในนี้ครับและถ้าเกิดว่าจะเปิด CSS ของเราเห็นว่ามี variables ข้างบนทีนี้ครับถ้าเกิดว่าอยากเปลี่ยนสีของ element ข้างใน page ของเราครับและสุดท้ายครั้งที่แล้วเราสั่ง input item แล้วก็ข้างๆ input item มี search button ด้วยครับดูแบบนี้อย่างไรครับ so we're trying to emulate this section up here and so we got pretty close to that แค่จำเป็นต้องเห็นไม่ดูโค้ดของนี้แล้วครับแค่อยากพยายามพัฒนาสกิลของเราแค่เห็นเว็บเพจแล้วก็สร้างเว็บเพจแค่จากใช้ตา so we just want to look at a web page use our eyes figure out in our head what the planning should be and then move forward so today we're going to continue on เราจะต่อไปในส่วนนี้ครับเราจะแค่ตั้งใจบนส่วนนี้และครั้งหน้าจะทำส่วนนี้ครับ so today we're just going to focus on here and today วันนี้เราจะผมจะแนะนำทั้งสองวิธีข้างใน CSS มีวิธี grid และมีวิธี flex ครั้งที่แรกผมจะแสดงว่า grid และก่อนแสดงว่าใช้ grid อย่างไรครับจำเป็นต้องเตรียมนิดหน่อยครับแค่อยากแสดงว่าดูแบบนี้ so we're gonna add a container จะเพิ่ม container แล้วก็ทำformatting ข้างบนทีนี้และหลังจากนั้นจะเล่นกับวิธี flex ได้เล่นกับวิธี grid ให้ทั้งกล่องนี้ครับ alright so let's get started so our page right now says why should you choose us it's all over to the side so that means we probably want to put a container around these elements so inside my section this is what I have right now this is my about section it's pretty big it's pretty involved I'm going to put in some space in between here just so we can get some clarity all right and มี3กล่องครับอันนี้3 card I've called them 3 boxes and inside here what I'm going to do is just for these elements in here just for these 3 cards I'm going to put them inside a container ผมจะใส่ในกล่องครับ so ใส่ในกล่อง container so the container box is what I'm going to put them in so at least we can get them centered so put them inside of a div and it's really good practice to do it this way just to make sure you have all your elements wrapped up properly and oh 1 second let me start my server I forgot to start my live server hold up so let me start the live server and there we go so now we have everything inside an element I think I put the container in the wrong place so hold up I want to put it up here so it's good to be able to see that and there we go everything is still spaced correctly and now we have why should we choose us inside of our page cool so live server gives us that fast reload ability now I'm going to focus on the why should you choose us but before we do that ผมจะเปลี่ยนสีของ page ทั้งหมดครับ so I want to change this back to now FFF for my whole page so it looks much more like this all right so now we've got the white background we've got the white look so now we focus on why should you choose us okay so ผมจะที่แรกcopy about และผมอยากใช้ about section ทีนี้ผมจะใส่ comment about และข้างหลังทีนี้ we're done with the showcase so we don't need to worry about that pound about and in here ผมแค่อยากใช้ margin top and I want to use 100 pixels margin top that'll push that down a little bit perfect le about title I want to make sure I have the right element so I'm going to use display none cool ผมเขียนถูกและผมอยากเปลี่ยน font size จนถึงprobably 50 pixels okay why should you choose us perfect but one thing I have is this about intro section so I'm going to grab this as well and we are going to do a dot about intro and we're going to do text align center that'll put these two elements in the center ทั้งสองนี้จะไปถึง center ของ page ของเราครับไม่ต้องคิดเกี่ยวกับทั้งสามนี้เราจะเปลี่ยนไปในเวลาหน่อยครับ so we'll get to those in a moment. All right, cool. Why should you choose us? Now, when I built out this, I remember I put in a span for choose us. เพราะว่าทีนี้ choose us ในสีเขียว well, I can use green span, and in my utility section, I can toss this in and say dot green span color. I mean, we're going to use our variables from above. เราสั่ง variable ครั้งที่แรก and I'm going to use the primary color variable for this one. Color and var minus minus primary color. And now the choose us has changed automatically to that nice green color that we see here. So we haven't talked about importing fonts or anything, which is why the fonts are different. That'll be a different lesson. But for now, we just want to work on spacing, formatting, and getting the alignment correctly. All right. And then we have our about para. That's our about text down here. I'm going to increase the font size here. ผมจะเพิ่ม font size ที่นี้ font size จะเปลี่ยนถึง20 pixel ผมคิดว่าดี okay และจะ width เปลี่ยนไปถึง 75%. Okay, and put in a margin of 0 and auto. Perfect. Now it is all centered. It all looks very nice. I'm going to put in one more element of line height of 1.5. There we go. Boom. Looks good. So width automatically. So for those who are curious, width by itself will ignore the text align center and push all the elements to the edge of the page and take up 75%. Not 100, but 75%. And so that's a problem. That is why เหตุผลนั้นเราจำเป็นต้องเพิ่ม margin อีกหนึ่งครั้งใน element เฉพาะนี้ครับ so that way we take away the top and the bottom margin. I don't care about that. ถ้าเกิดว่าอยากใช้ได้แต่ในกรณีนี้ไม่อยากใช้ top bottom margin ถ้าเกิดว่าอยากเพิ่มในอนาคตเพิ่มได้เปลี่ยนไปได้เลยข้างๆ left and right auto จะใช้ equal margin left and right เท่ากัน left เท่ากัน right เป็น automatically centers. Okay, so now I'm done with this top section. Now we focus on this section down here. Whoops, the 3 boxes. So we can see the boxes clearly. I am first grid example, and we'll do a flex example afterwards. Flex example. So we can see the boxes. One thing I have is about a card for each one of these. Each one of these is an about card. Soผมจะ copy about card dot about card, and I'm going to put a border around each one and make it 1 pixel solid and make it gray just so we can see the boxes. แต่ผมเห็นว่ามีปัญหานิดหน่อยครับเพราะว่าผมทำผิดแล้วครับผมใส่ read more button นี้ข้างในกล่องแต่ทีนี้ข้างนอกกล่อง so I have to change that. So inside my HTML, what I can do to change that is just simply inside this div, inside all of these divs, put another div. And what I'm going to do is move this over, and I'm going to put in a div about inner and about card inner. And I'm also going to add an about card inner first. So I want those 2 classes here. Whoops, that was not correct. That was weird. That should have worked. But anyway, that's fine. About card inner first. There we go. So I'm going to take this div and I want to wrap that last div above the button. So now when I save it, once that border gets put around and we change it to about card inner, let's change this to about card inner. Now the read more is outside the box. That's what we want. So ผมจะเปลี่ยนไปทั้งหมดอื่นทั้งสองอื่นครับทั้งสองอื่นจะเปลี่ยนไป All right, we're going to change this up. Oops. About card inner. And here I don't have to do it first. Why I did it first there is because ที่นี่มีสีเขียวข้างหลังกรองที่แรกครับ Out inside the first box we have a green color. I don't want that for the second and the third. I just want it for the first one. So now we have that read more outside there, and we'll come down and do that for the last one. Div.about card inner. There we go. And that should take care of the last one. So my read more button is outside, and to make this even further eligible, we're going to add our button utility class. So this button utility class comes from our previous lesson where we added this button utility. Now I can just apply this สามารถบน element ข้างใน page ที่ไหนก็ได้ so I can add it to here, and finally I can add it to here. And now my buttons will be very different. Cool. They now show up with the text formatting. All I have to do is change the color in the background, and that's it. So let's focus on the grid now. All right. So actually, let me change up the button real quick. That way we can get some clarity. And about card button. Background is var minus black. And we're going to give it a margin top of 30 pixels. There we go. All right, so all of these are lumped together. And now I can focus on the grid itself. So inside the grid, I'm going to use, I want to grid these three items. I want to grid the about card here, this about card, and this about card. ทั้งสอง or ทั้งสาม element อยู่ข้างใน div about cards. So I'm going to copy about cards, and I'm going to just do display grid. ไม่มีอะไรเปลี่ยนไปแต่ข้างในนี้ grid template columns. I'm going to type in one frame, and one frame. เพราะว่ามี3 element ครับ one frame, one frame. หรือถ้าเกิดว่าผมอยากใช้ pixels 200 pixels 200 pixels and 200 pixels ใช้ได้ so แล้วแต่คนครับใช้อย่างไร so in here มีแค่3 element, so one frame element, one frame element, and one frame. ในเว็บเพจของเราปกติในthe width of the web page is 12 frames มี12 ส่วนข้างใน web page vertical, so 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 and 12. So here I'm using one frame, so one frame split into 3 parts. Each one of these will take up 4 sections. So ani will take up each frame gets divided into 12 sections. So here, if I want to change this to 2, the middle one becomes wider. So here we have 2 frames in comparison to these two. So this will be 6 frames wide. This will be 3 frames and 3 frames, or 3 sections and 3 sections. So just be aware that automatic division is happening. So these two will be equal out of 12 or out of however many sections we have, and this one will get the last remaining. So if I make them all even again, they'll all have the same even width. So it doesn't really matter, it doesn't really affect anything, one frame or 2 or 3. So now if I want to make this even easier to read, I can do a repeat 3 1 FRs, and it's the same exact thing. If I wanted to change this to 2, it doesn't really matter. It's the same thing. ทุกทีจะมีเท่ากันข้างใน width ของเราครับ So now that I have that, what I can do is make it so I have a text align center within here, so we can center our text. All right, so now we have our text center. And then what I want to do real quick is just give it a grid gap. Grid gap. Space เว้นวรรคระหว่าง element ครับ and I'll do 50 pixels. So now we've got everything centered. We have a grid gap. Things are looking okay. And I want to give it a margin top, margin actually margin top and bottom 50 pixels, and we'll do 0 pixels. So that moves everything down a little bit. So we're getting closer to this. Okay, cool. Now we can do each element. ตอนนี้เราตั้งใจบน about card inner and about card inner first. So first I'm going to focus on the about card inner first, and we'll do a background. And this one we'll do a color, or color up. We'll do a variable minus primary. Key and took my die. And there we go. We've got a background color. Although this one looks slightly different, so I'm going to figure out if this color is different. I'm going to use my eye picker again, pick a color from the web page, and oh, 1 second, pick color from web page. Don't know why it's not working. There we go. And whatever color this is, it looks the same, but it's slightly different. We're going to go up here and see if we have that color 2AA. We don't. Soผมจะเพิ่ม color, box color, 2AA, and come back down here and say this is the box color. And we see it change slightly. I can't tell. It looks the same to me. And what we want to do is in here, change the text color to white. So now we're getting much closer. We want to do now we're going to work on the about inner cards themselves. So dot about card inner. Now we're going to affect all 3, and we want to do a border radius of 30 pixels. We want that rounded edge. We want these round corners. So border radius,จะทำ rounded corners. So to klong me rounded corners. And then what we want is padding inside to give it some space. So padding on the top, 100 pixels, padding on the left, 20 pixels, padding on the bottom, 20 pixels, and padding on the right, 20 pixels. Remember, this goes clockwise, so top, right, bottom, left, T, R, B, L. And so now we're getting much closer to what we want that look and feel to be. There we go. And so now we can do the actual title, and we can do the paragraph about card title. Change the font size to, let's say, 40 pixels. Cool. And we want to do the font weight as normal. Much better. And inside here, we have our about card para. And we want to change this to maybe a font size of 20 pixels. Aja 20 pixel le mi width aja 80%. There we go. And margin 0 auto. There we go. So everything is centered. All right, so it looks much closer to this one, and we've got the everything is centered, everything looks good. So that's grid. Very, very quick introduction to grid. ตอนนี้จะแสดงว่า flex ใช้อย่างไรครับ So all of this stuff is just a way to organize elements. Why? Because we get automatic resizing, and it becomes responsive as the page changes, which is really nice. But even more so, when we move into doing more responsive web pages, grid is really, really helpful in helping us be able to do that. So we can do inside of here, and let's try it out. Grid template columns. We can do, well, that's weird. We can do a repeat, auto fit, a min max of 350 pixels and 3 frames. And now all of these will change up. So the 350 pixels, once they reach less than 350, they'll automatically shift to take up less space or take up a different row. So even if I wanted to change this to, let's say, 450, now we'll see it change a little bit more. So we get that nice collapsed look where they are all together at 450. As the screen gets wider, now they turn back into the triples. So this helps when we have different desktops, different tablets, or different phones. ถ้าเกิดว่ามี desktop จะดูแบบนี้ ถ้าเกิดว่าจะเปลี่ยนไปถึง iPad or cell phone โทรศัพท์มือถือโทรศัพท์ we'll have it look like this. And what's an easy way to be able to test that? We can see it in the view developer tools. And then we can see in our mobile, here's our mobile in the devices. And we can see here I have this displayed on an iPad Pro. Maybe I got to work on spacing and figure out how to make it so it works or looks nice on an iPad Pro. We haven't done responsive yet, but the focus is on this section right here. So as we see, we can automatically adjust to the iPad Pro, and it looks pretty decent. We probably have to fix a few things, but for now, it looks okay. It's automatically adjusting depending on the device width or the device height, whatever that is. And so I can change it up to a different type of phone and get a different look and feel. If I want to go landscape here, I can. And we have a different mobile look and feel. So this is how it would look on a mobile device. And everything still works. We still go down to our different areas of the web page as we build them out. All right, so I just wanted to show you that introduction. We have not done responsive yet. Responsive is a whole different animal. เราจะ cover responsive ในอนาคตครับ but this is a basic introduction to responsiveness so that we can see how it would look otherwise. Now, I'm going to go to the flex example. So ผมจะลบทั้งหมดนี้ครับ ไม่ลบแต่ just comment out ทั้งหมดนี้ Whoops. I want to be able to comment that out. Let's do this. There we go. And we're going to comment all of this stuff out. And now we're back to our original. All right. So what am I going to do now? Now I'm going to do some flex. So we're going to take the same exact idea. เราจะใช้ idea คล้ายๆกันครับ I'm going to copy this real quick and put it down here. And I am going to get rid of all of this in the middle. Uncomment. And all I'm going to do here is save so we know that nothing is changing. And we can just do display none so we make sure we have the right elements. We know we have the right elements. And now I'm going to change it to display flex. Whoa! Automatically, everything just lines up in the center and it's all good to go. Lines up horizontally 1, 2, and 3 just by typing in display flex. I don't have to do that second command of grid template columns and all of that. So what I'm going to do is bring in all of my editing that I've done before. ผมจะแค่ copy ทั้งหมดและใส่ข้างล่างครับ and then we'll be able to see what that all looks like. And there we go. That's just by saying display flex. All of my editing from above was just editing for the actual element. These are all purely element edits, nothing to do with flex, nothing to do with grid. This is just purely element editing. All right. So now I can, inside here, my text align, I can make it centered here. And that should create the centered feel that I want right here. And that's basically it. Above, I want to do some margin. And below, so 50 pixels above, and then 50 pixels probably below. There we go. Now we've got some space. And if I want to do some left and right margin, I can add in 20 pixels here and 20 pixels here. And that'll give me some space in between the elements. Oh, whoops, wrong place. Apologies. Wrong place for that. So inside here, I'd want to do the about card. I'd want to add in the about card. Oh, sorry. Here is where I'd want to do the adding the margin. Apologies. So I'd want to add in the margin here. Top, I don't really care about. Left and right, let's say 20 pixels. Bottom, I don't care about. 20 pixels on the left and right. And so now we've got this. A simpler way to type all this would be 0, 20 pixels. And we get the same effect. So all of that is done. Everything looks centered. What I don't get in the flex is a real easy way to be able to adjust for resizing devices. So we're going to talk about how to resize and make it responsive in a future lecture. But today, I really just wanted to introduce you to the ease of FlexBox and the ease of Grid. And now you get to play around with them and figure out which one works for you to get the look and feel that you want. Some are responsive on the fly. Others we might have to work on being responsive later on. But today, play around with this section. And I hope today was helpful to understand FlexBox versus Grid and item arrangements and the responsive nature that comes with some of these out of the box. So ถ้าเกิดว่ามีคำถามขอให้ได้ or ขอได้ใน Facebook หรือใน YouTube ถ้าเกิดว่าอยากเห็น or อยากใช้เรียนอื่นๆจะแนะนำข้างใน Facebook หรือข้างใน YouTube ก็ได้ครับ So if you want to learn anything else, if you want to see anything else as we progress through this, or if we miss something, feel free to leave us comments and feel free to leave us info. I hope today was helpful, and we'll see you next time. Have a good day. Bye.